If you want to make better melodies, then make sure you follow these 4 steps so you don't make the same mistakes I did that held back my progress. And if you're wondering, why should you listen to me? I make samples every single day and I send them out for collabs daily. I've talked to and learned directly from Grammy-nominated producers. I've taken private courses and classes with big industry producers that make a living selling kits, samples and landing placements. These are all things I learned firsthand and I wish someone told me earlier. But first, quick disclaimer. This video is not gonna tell you what chord progression to use or which scale is best. This is about how to actually improve your melodies so that big producers, industry people and artists actually want to use them. But the first tip is one I've neglected a lot, especially in the beginning. This is what separates amateur melodies from industry level ones. Before you even press a single key on your computer or MIDI keyboard, make sure your sounds are clean and high quality. You don't need Contact or Omnisphere to get great sounds. You just need to learn how to use what you already have properly, or get someone else to bring your idea to life. For example, paying session musicians to replay my ideas live. Here's a quick example of a sample made from a friend of mine, and the feedback he got was that the idea was good, but it sounded VST-like. This idea replayed by session musicians would make a huge difference in the quality of the sample. So make sure you use clean and high quality sounds, or even pay someone to replay your idea and make better melodies. Also, make sure you have a catchy idea in the first part. A bad idea with great sound selection is still a bad melody because it doesn't have that catchiness and ear-grabby thing. So the idea itself matters. If your melody isn't catchy or memorable, it won't get used no matter how good the sounds are. This right here is the most important tip and probably the hardest one to master. So focus on sound selection and catchy ideas. Now this next tip is essential if you want to send your loops to industry producers or collab with people on BeatStars. It's one of the easiest but also one of the most annoying to implement. Let's say you finished up a solid catchy 8-bar loop. What now? You need different sections: intro, verse, hook, bridge, outro, something like that. Think about how it would work in a whole song. When sending loops out, producers want different parts they can use and flip in multiple ways. Even when making a beat from scratch, you are still adding variation, whether through drums or melodies. So arrange your samples to include multiple sections. So here's an example of an arrangement I did. So first I have an intro section. So this is just the reverse piano melody and the vocal. Afterwards I added more layers to it. So I have a pad, the bass, the reverse melody and the vocal which is filtered. And at the end I added a simple guitar top line and the reverse melody again. So only in this sample right here I got 3 different sections that the producers can use and flip their own way. And here is another example of a different arrangement. So here we have a first section, a second section, a third section, and a fourth section. I'm gonna play you the pitched and sped up version of it. As you probably know, this is way more interesting for a beatmaker or producer to use your sample and flip it because he has the freedom to use different sections of your sample and add their own sauce to it. This will not only help you make better melodies, but will make your melodies stand out a lot more. So take the extra time and make different sections in your melodies. Another key thing is to properly stem out your melodies. One of the first things an industry producer told me when I asked him to send some samples was make sure to include the stems so that he can remix and rearrange the sample if you didn't like my version. Let me show you real quick how to properly stem out your melody. So first you have your different sections right here. Now afterwards you just take each sound and copy them over, like so. The best thing is to leave a 4-bar space in between. So that way no reverb or delay is bleeding over into the next sound. Now if you want to make sure that the producer has a really easy time to just rearrange the sample as he wants, everything is perfectly aligned, and make sure you use a hi-hat or just another short sound and you place it in the middle of these 4 bars, so after 2 bars, separating each sound individually. That way when the producer gets the sample, he gets something like this. You can already see the different sections of it and even the different sounds used perfectly on time. Now all he has to do is just to cut the silence right here and there, and everything will be perfectly aligned. This is how I arrange and stem out all of my samples. Now you won't get placements or even collabs if you mess this next thing up, and thankfully it just takes 5 seconds to fix. Let's say your loop is done, it sounds fire and it's arranged properly. But now, how do you send it out? Now the worst thing you could do is to name it something like Loop 34 Dark Vocal Trap. That's getting ignored. Naming your melody the right way actually increases your chances you will be listened to. If someone sees 2 loops, one with a proper name and one with a generic name, which one are they more likely to use and remember? Exactly. That's why we name beats, sounds, samples, and all the other stuff, because names matter. So here is how I label my melodies. First, I have my contact information, so in this case it's Instagram. Then I have the name of the melody in all caps. Afterwards, I have this little space right here, and then the type of sample. So in this case, it's the Drake's Party Next Door vibe. Then afterwards, the BPM and the key of the entire melody. So the most important part is to always include some contact information, in best case your Instagram, then the key and BPM of the sample. I've heard too many stories of great melodies getting skipped or don't get placed just because nobody knew who made them. So make sure you label your melodies correctly. Now this final tip will make your melodies 10 times better, and it will keep getting better over time. The phrase is simple: practice equals progress. So the more melodies you make, the better you will get. Don't sit around and wait for inspiration. Start cooking, and trust me, inspiration will meet you halfway. Yeah, some days you will sit there for an hour or 2 and everything you make will sound trash, but other days you randomly will make something crazy. Just remember, it's a numbers game. You can't make great melodies without first making a bunch of average or even bad ones. Use melody starters or phrases if you're stuck. Copy a chord progression from YouTube and build from there. Reflip your own melodies. Just make sure you show up and practice making melodies or beats as often as possible, ideally every day. Now, make sure you smash that like button if you found this video helpful, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any other videos, and comment down below which tip helped you the most.